In the age of the internet and social media, we have been introduced to many odd and wacky characters. Amongst these anomalies, one seems to rise above the rest in terms of popularity. An unassuming TikTok singer/songwriter who would go on to become one of, if not the most famous, Lolcow on the internet. Today we'll be diving into the strange and sad life of Daniel Larson, his rise to internet fame, the decline of his mental well-being, and ultimately, his downfall.
Hello, this is Daniel Larson. I just got in trouble with my probation officer.
Daniel Robert Larson was born November 15, 1998 in Lancaster, California, to two young parents, Elizabeth Scheimer and James Larson, who were both in their early 20s when they had Daniel. Daniel would face some health complications, such as genetic disorders, mental health disorders, learning disabilities, as well as a head injury at just 3 weeks and a seizure at 5 months. In 2001, Daniel's mother Elizabeth would give birth to twins. However, they would sadly pass away that same day due to complications. Later on in Daniel's early years, he would officially be diagnosed with autism, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia. It is also noted that throughout Daniel's childhood, he had violent outbursts where he would hit his mother and grandmother, as well as harm himself. In 2010, Daniel's parents had separated. Daniel's mother would go on to say that his father, Travis, had walked out on the pair, stating that Daniel was a lost cause and would never amount to anything in his life. Following the separation, Daniel and his mother would move to Hugo, Colorado, in hopes of receiving better healthcare support, as Elizabeth was suffering from a 10-year battle with chronic illness that had left her wheelchair-bound. Colorado would also give young Daniel a fresh start in a new environment and would hopefully provide better care for Daniel's mental health conditions. Sadly though, it would seem things only get worse for Daniel in the coming years. There would also be many claims of sexual abuse during Daniel's childhood. An alleged healthcare worker would come forward online to make these claims of sexual abuse, stating in a Facebook comment, "I worked with this person when he was a child/teen in a severe treatment center in Denver. He's had a horrible upbringing and does suffer from multiple behavior and personality issues. This is a man with deep-rooted mental health problems. It's very sad, and I hope that the dog and himself finds help. There's a history of child sexual abuse to him and by him as well. How he acts isn't a game or him faking. It's truly how his brain thinks, and it's severely debilitated. Very sad story to see this from working with him as a teen." It is also alleged that Daniel was assaulted by his own mother. This claim would begin to spread after Daniel posted a question on his Quora page that related to inappropriate contact between mother and child. However, the validity of this claim, along with the others, is hard to verify as truth, as they either come from random online sources or Daniel himself, who is proven to be an unreliable narrator. Either way, the fact that these claims were brought up in the first place is quite disturbing. When Daniel was 11 years old, he was taken by the state of Colorado due to alleged neglect by his mother. However, Daniel's mother would go on to state that the claims of neglect were fabricated by her mother and Daniel's grandmother, Nancy Scheimer. Daniel would be placed into the foster care system and would be in and out of about 15 different homes. It was during this time that we would see Daniel end up at the Tennyson Center, located in Denver, Colorado. The Tennyson Center is a facility that provides services for children who have been neglected, abused, and traumatized. Daniel lived at the center for over a year. He would eventually go on to live with his grandmother, but continue his schooling at the center after she was granted custody. Daniel would also meet Bob Proctor during this time at the Tennyson Center. The two would be partners in a reading buddy program at the school, and Bob will become a mentor to Daniel. Bob will soon also become a reoccurring character in the Daniel Larson story. The local news would run a story on the Tennyson Center, with Daniel and his grandmother being featured in the story.
But looking at Danny now, you will see a smiling, laughing young boy with the world ahead of him.
This is wonderful today!
Danny and his grandmother have both seen huge improvements.
I learned to, when I'm in school, to do school and don't never quit, because if you quit, you won't know what to do. And if someone's trying to get you upset, don't let them make you feel bad about yourself. Just be good and make yourself feel happy.
He likes himself now. He feels good about himself. I'm not saying he's a finished job. He's got more work to do, but he's a much different child than he was when he first came here.
However, not everything at the Tennyson Center was okay. During an interview, Daniel would reveal some dark truths about the center, claiming that Tennyson Center had a room with only one window used to lock up misbehaving children. These stories of abuse would be corroborated by former students of the Tennyson Center, who also claimed to have faced abuse by the staff. The Tennyson Center's living program would also be shut down after the death of an 11-year-old boy, as well as a mountain of allegations involving sexual misconduct, along with many other forms of abuse. In 2014, Daniel would begin to participate in musical theater. Daniel would find great joy in the musical world and would attempt to pursue a career in the industry in the years to come. 2016 would see Daniel attending Sobeski Academy for his high school years. During a Reddit Ask Me Anything, one of Daniel's classmates would give us insight into his life in high school. Daniel would perform poorly academically and would have occasional meltdowns where he would harm himself, but other than that, he mostly flew under the radar. Daniel also acted as the mascot for the school's softball team. During his time in high school, one of Daniel's favorite activities was to spend time with his grandmother. Together, the two would watch America's Got Talent. This would mark the beginning of Daniel's sick infatuation with the singer Grace Vanderwall. Presumably, since the moment Daniel saw Grace, he wanted to pursue a relationship with her, despite Grace only being 12 years old at the time when she competed on the talent show, whilst Daniel was 17. This obsession would go on to become a prominent narrative in Daniel's story, with Grace being mentioned almost daily in his videos. Daniel would even come into contact with members of the Vanderwall family after years of stalking Grace. However, we'll be covering that a bit later. Daniel would go on to graduate in 2018. On November 6, 2017, Daniel would have his first of many run-ins with the law. Daniel would have a physical altercation with his mother. During this incident, Daniel would push and strike his mother, who, again, was wheelchair-bound and extremely sick. Daniel would use the claims of abuse he received from his mother as justification for the assault. I'll now let Daniel explain it for himself in a video taken in 2021.
After basically 15 years of my parents hitting me with belts, my dad asking me to smoke cigars as a child, I decided to push my mother out of the way one time when she cornered me when I was 18, and they called that assault, and I went to jail for 45 days. But if my mother was the one that was abusing me my whole life and never got in trouble, and I did one thing to her and went to jail for 45 days, I did one thing, she did like 150 things. She should be the one to get the blame. In the end, God has a golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. So she actually well deserved that one thing for what she did. I took this to court and I told them, believe it or not, they lifted the case because they listened to me. My mother still doesn't have a restraining order and she should. It pisses me off that I get treated better by celebrities than my own family. Better by my own fans than my own family. I'll be creating 3 movements. Stop abuse towards people with disabilities. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And stop abuse. Please help me spread the message.
This would be the last time Daniel and his mother would speak, as contact had been cut completely. In 2019, Daniel would suffer a significant loss in his life, the passing of his grandmother, Nancy Scheimer. Nancy was in hospice care after a long battle with cancer. Instead of seeing his grandmother in her final moments, Daniel chose to participate in the Special Olympics to prove he was a fighter and not a quitter, and would not let anything get in his way of competing. Daniel also claimed that he didn't even go to the funeral. Now, it is unclear, but some online speculate that Daniel wasn't even invited to begin with, as it is alleged that he beat his grandmother multiple times even while she was fighting cancer. With his grandmother gone, Daniel had lost the only family member willing to take him in. Daniel would end up back in the care of the state in a group home program designed for intellectually disabled adults. Daniel would find employment through this group home. He would also fall for a scam and lose a significant amount of his money. This incident just shows how gullible Daniel is, and trolls would capitalize on this later on in his story. 2019 would also see the first ever Daniel Larson TikTok account named DanielLars20. Daniel would post a few videos on this account, with none of them really gaining any significant traction. However, that would soon change in the coming months. Soon, the entire internet will be engrossed in the Larson saga. But with the newfound fame comes an army of trolls who prove to be unrelenting in the coming years. However, that's a story for next time. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.